Welcome back to part 2. Now, I looked at the last video and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of long. So I'm gonna cut the crap and I'm gonna get through this fast because I just want this to be this episode and the other episode. And I want to get to my point, which will be clear soon, I hope. So last time we left off, we finished the first paragraph. Intro. We finished the intro. It took 17 minutes to finish the intro, isn't it? It's kind of crazy to me. So after the intro, he says, "Got it, guys? The reason of this long rant isn't to annoy you, but to find a balanced solution for all of this." And we're left to assume that somewhere later on, he's going to give us a balanced solution. So please provide feedback once again. Let me hear your ideas. Be creative and take in consideration all the consequences that your suggested change would bring if implemented. Well, okay, but I'm going to be applying that to your suggestions too. So, let's just keep that in mind. Naturally, I'll contribute. Based from all I have read, above and in the past, I'm pretty active in the ideas and suggestions for balls. I'm pretty active in the ideas and suggestions subforum. Here's my thoughts. So this is where he gives his thoughts on finding a balanced solution for all of this, which is something. I think it was that Hat Films gave a negative review. It was something like that. I don't know. So his first thing he talks about is the zombies. Yes, the zombies. Instead, this time, I think what I'll do is I will read through it entirely, with no pauses, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Because I don't want to give you my interruptions. No, that wouldn't be very fun at all. So he says, High Life, which is the owner of the server, stated in his last changelog that now zombies will have less reach. That was based on various complaints about people with lagging issues getting hit by far, high-velocity zombies, and made impossible for those guys to kill a Zed without getting hit at least once. I don't have much to say about it here. Zombies, in my experience, have been sometimes strangely moving, but that is. After you obtain a good armor, surviving is easy enough to travel alone, but hard enough to make a zombie more challenging. So, we'll see. I haven't played yet to see what changes now, but zombies were pretty okay to me first. It sounds a little too easy now for me, but then again, it is very fair to people with worse connections and minds. So, he's assuming, based off of a changelog, that the zombies are worse. But he doesn't know, because he hasn't even tried it yet, so that entire thing is useless. Then he says, about the spawn rates. If a zombie or more spawn next to you, well, you aren't lucky. The code states that in the range of 20 blocks, no enemy should spawn. More on the Reddit link. Remember, though, that in cities, zombies spawn in response to your presence, otherwise everyone would camp here for ages. Just keep your surroundings in check and you'll be fine most of the times. So he's trying to validify why, I'm assuming why the people in the Hat Films were getting killed inside of cities because of zombies. He's trying to say it's not the server's fault, because that's how it should be, and they shouldn't get upset over it. Because that's the game. You shouldn't get mad over it. Okay? Damn. Then he talks about loot. He says, now that everyone spawns with an apple, for better surviving, I personally think that this would actually lessen survival, because now an Iron Bandit would have a reason to return to spawn and kill. No, you're wrong, actually, because when you go through the game, you'll realize that apples aren't that great. They take up a lot of inventory space, and compared to something like watermelon or cookies, they're really bad. So no. Putting in one apple per person spawning, each one 1,000 blocks away from the other, will not increase banditry. But people were complaining that they can get far without eating, so there it is. I think that it's good for the noobs, but not forever. After 50 deaths, no more apples should be given, but I'll discuss this later in PvP. That's reasonable. I'll agree. But I don't agree entirely. I think it's fine the way it is. That's my thought. It doesn't change everything so much that the world needs to say, you don't know Obama, because it doesn't matter. Who cares? If it's just an apple, it's not that much incentive as what you're exaggerating it to be. So, no, you're wrong on that as well. If you played Mindsy, this is number 3, by the way, surviving. If you played Mindsy for more than a couple of hours, you should know that the northern you go, the better the game gets. Less people, nicer cities, various loot, etc. On the coast, though, it's the complete opposite. Too many player, often more inclined to kill than teamwork. Instead of lowering the total player number, I would have added in a town in the desert. I know that there are cheats and stuff here, but a proper town would help, I think. So people have more options to go, even if freshly spawned. So he's suggesting that instead of what they did, which was lower the player rate in order to prevent bandits, was that they just put it down in the desert. Because, you know, that'll magically stop bandits from camping there, too. No, that doesn't make any sense either. Although, it does make sense that they'd have more options. But what you're trying to say it should be doing doesn't quite, you know, make any sense at all. So, no. Number 4, meetings. So, you log in with your friends, and of course you want to adventure together. This will bring you great benefits. Numbers means string. Numbers means string. But there is the problems. Everyone is 1,000 blocks away from you. What to do? 3 tips I have for you. He's like Dr. Seuss. Walk, but don't try to stay too much on the coast or in the cities. It's dangerous. You know that. Try to meet up somewhere else, like in a northern area city. I always see people trying to team up in a coast city. Of course incidents happen. And the worst place to stay idle, waiting for someone, and walk around. So he's saying, walk, but don't walk, because you might die. That's why there's numbers in string. Made a non-PvP area, like he suggested in the last thing. Here people could gather and get their business done. I don't like this a lot because it's non-PvP and have a lot of implications and possible exploits problems, but it's fair to point that option out. It's not up to me to decide anyway. Well, you're right, it's not up to you to decide. And 2, adding another area won't really do much at all except give bandits another place to go to. So no, you're wrong. Again. Make the starting area a bit safer. I'll discuss that later. By having a safe spawn area, it could be easier to meet up. That's actually a good idea. I'm glad you suggested that. Because it's important to have a good spawn area. For those of you fans of the teleport, please read my post in a past thread here. I have explained. I don't know what that means. Perhaps he explained the teleport. Perhaps he explains the porting pops and the kids with brain damage. I don't know. He didn't specify. He didn't give a link either. He just said that. Number 5, bandits in PvP. This is his big strong point. And this is really where I see he has the only suggestion in this entire topic. And that's why I feel like this topic is so worthless, because it doesn't tell you anything. It gives you his opinion on hat films, and from there he goes on to justify how upset they were by saying that they shouldn't have changed anything in the game, because they're wrong, and the game was good before as it was, and change is bad. Just change is... No change. You sit down, change. It's not your turn yet. So let's get on with it. There we are, the biggest problem in Mindsy for most of the people. Bandits will kill you for the loot, for the jerky dude, for the lulz, or just for the sake of it. They are, however, a part of the game, people have chosen a path different than your pacific player. Now, if you are a Mind Z veteran, you know the drill. People could help or not. You can either risk or speak up, or just run for your life. So, in the North/Central area is a bit balanced. People have nicer gear, and less people means less people inclined to kill you for your stuff when you could collaborate. But they are still out there, hunting you. But now you have stuff, and you know the game pretty well, so you can go somewhere else and avoid living human contact. So wait. He just solved the problem. Just leave spawn. A+, you get a gold star. But no, of course, he has to talk about the people at spawn, because obviously they're too stupid to realize, oh no, these people are trying to kill me. Maybe I should try something else. This doesn't seem to be working. If I go away from spawn, maybe I won't encounter them. But instead, because obviously we're assuming the average player is too stupid to comprehend this idea, he goes ahead and says, but what about spawn people? Or worse, what about first run players? The best solution I came up with is a purple name tag. It's sort of a newbie's protection that could either be applied to all spawn players for a determinate period of time, or after a variable, if you like. That's both the same thing, actually. A variable and a determined time are both. A variable is something you choose to change or alter. And if you're determining that, then there's no different. I don't understand. Purple player can be attacked and damaged, and they can do the same to you, but they will drop no loot. Huh. You know, that's actually a pretty good idea. And when I read it, I'll agree, this is a good suggestion. Yeah. Yeah. But it doesn't really do anything. I mean, if I was going to kill people, I saw there's new players, and I knew there were new players because they had purple tags. Well, it's sort of like going to high school, and there's a bunch of freshmen, and you make fun of them. Not because it's high school and you're an upperclassman, but because they're freshmen and you can. You were a freshman once. So you have as much as right to do so as they will soon in the future. Simple as that. This way they'll have at least 1 minute of breathing, and also they can be easily spotted as new player. Like I said, that's not a great thing. Yes, they could still be killed, but at least killings would decrease a little bit. No, they wouldn't actually. Not really. In towns, very little would change because less players means more loot for you. So he's saying, in the towns, nothing would change, even though less players means more loot? I don't, what? What are you saying? But I noticed that in starting cities, players tend to cooperate even more than in northern ones. Actually, that's not true at all. In fact, the further north you go, the friendlier people you'll meet. Because they got out of spawn. Because, you know, they're educated. And they realized that staying there it wasn't a good idea. And so teamwork is actually a valuable asset to them. And most of the time, they won't plan on killing you. So, you're wrong for noticing that, because it's not true. Maybe because the loot is shitty, so you don't want so much stuff? No, it's because newer players are generally assholes. Or the zombies push people to create a common front against them? No, it's because people are assholes. Don't know, but I feel like it would be nice to give this idea a go, after some feedback. That's my feedback. By the way, telling people don't trust anyone will not make them friendly. Yes, it's a dangerous world, but you can make friends after all. Haven't we all? He's referring to a thing at spawn that says, don't trust anyone. So, I guess he's just saying that for fun. Back on topic, other ideas against bandits were highly supported in the Reddit, where punishing them for every people that kill them with more time for respawn. So that's pretty much saying the more people you kill, the longer it takes for you to spawn. So it's like a penalty. I'm not crazy about that idea, even if I'm the most peaceful player ever. If you know me, you should know what I mean. Because that is a bit cruel, but for a spawn killer, it would be very effective since they die regularly. But 5 minutes maximum, we want to punish them, not kick them out completely, right? I don't know. It's your suggestion. Uh, uh, no. I actually think that's a very silly idea. And then he goes on to say, a silly idea of mine now, born from a joke, iron golems in coast cities. These would ignore the zombies and attack people who attack people. So, they would attack people that attack people. How they would do that, I don't know. I'm not sure, really at all. I don't know, it was a joke, but could be funny in a way. Someone even suggested a coastal police, like one or more iron golem, always walking regularly on the coast to protect player from players. Okay, I wrote it. Let me know what you think of that silly thing. Moving along. It's silly. We need to also have the red name tag play reduce damage to players. Nice, too. He's talking about how after you kill, I think it's 5 people, you get a red name tag, which represents that you are a serial killer and should be killed on the spot. And what it means is the more people you kill, the less damage you do. And he's saying, but before we take that little thing, we need to realize self-defense recognition. It would be lovely if possible. The system should recognize who started the fight and not accuse of murdering someone who was just defending himself. Eventually giving him a blue hero tag. We'll see what the devs are thinking about. I don't think I have any opinion on that. It's not a great suggestion. It doesn't really mean much to me. If I see someone with a red name tag, I'm not inclined to really kill them. I just sort of go on with my business. And he says, you may have noticed I'm focusing on removing bandits that spawn rather than bandits in general. I am. With the crappy PvP Minecraft combat mechanics, usually the one who wins is the one who attacks first and or has better gear, with battles that last a few seconds. I can accept this later on in the game, since the benefits of having good gear, potions, golden apples, and different weapon battles are more creative and sometimes longer. Also makes a bit more sense to kill someone who has diamond stuff rather than leather, but not in the beginning. If you have the same crappy equipment of your next victim, you are doing it wrong. Actually, no, you're incorrect, and I'm not even going to bother reading the next part of that, because it's just complete and incoherent nonsense. Once you finish the game, and you have iron armor, and you're just done, there's nothing left to do. You go back down south. And most of the time, the new players will just try to kill you, even if you do try to help them. So, I can only assume that's why bandits started, because people got bored just exploring once they got all this neat stuff, because there's nothing left to do. It's not because they feel like the benefits are greater, because if they've gotten far enough to get through spawn and get iron armor and be called bandits, then either one, they've killed people who actually went there, or they are people that have actually been to the north and have actually explored, have actually done things. So, no, you're wrong. And then he concludes it with saying, so these are the 5 points where I want you to concentrate your feedback on. That is the point of this thread. Sorry for making it so long. And I thought the point was that Hat Films was wrong. But I was wrong. Turns out the point is actually nothing. I don't understand the point. If you could elaborate for me, I'd appreciate it. I would. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I'm serious. If you could explain to me what any of this means, I would thoroughly appreciate it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to make this. Now, if you want to keep reading, 2 suggestions that I think are great and don't dramatically change the gameplay, nor add new items, because, you know, purple name tags and red name tags and iron golems were very game-changing for me. I felt like my entire world was just flipped upside down. He says, better snowballs, increasing area of effect, and maybe even the ability to distract aggroed zombies. I'm assuming that means aggravated. Or stacking. At the moment, they're not so great overall. They don't stack, don't explode. Did you know you can use a grenade as a snowball if you're feeling silly? And the effect of the area is a bit short, so even if they are a little up, little harm would be made. And actually, in the Hat Films review, one of the guys actually says, my snowballs didn't seem to be doing anything. So, he's right. He wasn't disagreeing with everything. He's agreeing that the server is bad at some things. Every server is. Nothing's perfect. Limited bleeding bandages aren't so easy to find. That's false. You've obviously never explored anywhere before. They don't stack, and there are specific places where people gather to obtain them. Some of these lives. Doesn't that mean they're easy to find if you know where to find? Doesn't it mean they're easy to find if you know where to find them? The mixture sense of the bleeding either cauterize after a while, stopping the damage, even after 15 minutes. If you can manage this out with pots, good for you. Or if every time you get hurt, you have like 5% chance to heal it permanently. Making bandages stack would also work too, even on 2. So, that's not a bad idea. The stacking. I don't agree with the rest of it. The stacking is the only thing I agree with. Because things could be stacking. That'd be nice. Like being able to carry a stack of apples of just 2. Being able to carry bandages in 2s, 3s, 4s. Anything really. And then he says, I know there are other good ideas. Like ones we don't dramatically need, but they are good read nonetheless. But it's all come to my mind now. I'll make in the future a big thread with all the ideas posted so far and what devs think about it. Maybe, so we don't flood the forum with the same old ideas every time. Thanks for reading all this monster. I hope I didn't sound too much pretentious. Edit. Added for the poll for personal reason. I want to know if you guys appreciate my line of thought or just hate it. Number 1, I kind of like what you do think. Number 2, not everything you said is gold to me, but I generally agree. Number 3, I think in a completely different way. For the sake of things, I'm going to say I kind of like what you think, because you mean good, but you're just not doing it right. And, maybe it'll give me the results. If it loads, whatever. If it doesn't load, then that's fine. So, yeah, that's my feedback. I hope you understood it, because I said a lot of things. Mostly, I just disagree with everything you had to say, because a lot of what you have to say won't benefit anything at all. You're just blatantly stating the obvious. Your suggestions are minimal, and I personally didn't believe like it was that worth of reading. I feel like everyone that agrees with you is just jumping on the bandwagon as if they don't really know what they're talking about, or they just feel like they're supporting a cause because they can. Sort of like Coney 2012. People watch the video and they're like, man, this is really emotional. I'm going to donate to these people, even though they didn't do their full research. And it seems to me like you're posting on a lot of other people's threads telling them, you know, your suggestion is alright, but have you looked at mine? And I don't really respect that very much. That's kind of rude to do that. So if you could, just try not to in the future. Because that does make you sound pretentious. Because your suggestions aren't that great. Because there's barely any suggestions at all. So, yeah, that's my feedback. If I didn't make any sense at all, feel free to give me a thumbs down, or give me a comment telling me I suck, or anything, really. That's fine. Because at least it means you watched. And I respect that. So thanks for watching. And, I'd love to see what you have to say. Majicou. Catch you on the flip side.